Real English for your daily life.
Master English together.
Quick question. How many decisions have you already made today before breakfast? If your brain feels fried before noon, you're in the right place.
And if your inbox already feels like a tiny courtroom, with every email asking for a verdict, this episode is for you.
This is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too. And here's the thing. The problem isn't that you're lazy.
It's that you're carrying too many choices at once, and your brain gets stuck, like a browser with way too many tabs open.
Maybe you're choosing between staying in your job or jumping to a new one. Maybe you're staring at 3 meetings, 5 messages, and 1 career question you can't shake.
And by 9 p.m., you're still replaying the same decision in your head, pretending you're thinking deeply when really you're just exhausted.
That's the trap. The more you try to be careful, the more tired you feel. And when you're tired, even small choices start to feel heavy.
We call that decision fatigue, and it can make smart people feel strangely stuck. It's not a character flaw, it's a mental limit.
Today, we're going to unpack why that happens and why your best work might be hiding behind fewer choices, not more.
We'll also show you how a simple routine and a few clear boundaries can protect your energy before it disappears.
And there is one thing we discovered. Once your day stops feeling like a contest of tiny decisions, your focus gets a lot sharper.
Quick challenge, pick one. A, you check email first, or B, you start with your hardest task. Which one sounds safer? Say the letter in your head right now.
I already know some of you said A because email looks polite and harmless, until it eats 40 minutes.
Stay until the end for our word tour 5 expressions that will help you talk about stress, focus, and work life in natural English.
And later, we'll give you one tiny trick for reducing choice overload. But first, let's talk about why your mind keeps saying, I can't deal with one more thing. Picture this. You wake up, grab your phone, and before your coffee's even ready, 3 people already want answers. One wants a schedule, one wants feedback, and one wants to sync for 15 minutes that somehow becomes 40.
That's not a morning. That's a stress audition. And the worst part is, every tiny choice starts stealing energy before the real work even begins.
Exactly. And that stealing adds up fast. When your mind keeps switching between priorities, you're not weak. You're overloaded.
That's the heart of decision fatigue. It's the mental tiredness from making too many choices, and it hits harder when every choice feels important.
So the person who's stuck between 2 job offers, 4 project paths, and a manager asking for quick thoughts isn't dramatic. They're overwhelmed.
Overwhelm is that heavy, noisy feeling when your brain keeps saying, too much, too much, too much. It isn't just busy, it's crowded.
And once you're there, even simple questions feel weirdly difficult. Coffee or tea? Reply now or later. Work on the report or clear the inbox. Your mind turns each one into a debate.
I've seen people spend 20 minutes deciding where to start, then start nowhere. That's the real tax of too many choices.
Let's make it concrete. Imagine a mid-level employee named Lena. She wakes up already thinking about a promotion interview. She also has a client call, a deadline, and a message from her boss that says, "Can we talk today?" That one sentence can ruin a whole hour.
And Lena's brain starts spinning. Should she prepare for the interview? Should she answer the boss now? Should she work on the deck? She's not being careless. She's trying to juggle too much at once.
Now, if Lena has no routine, every morning becomes a fresh decision maze. She spends energy asking, what should I do first, before she's done anything useful?
That's why routine matters. A routine is a regular way of doing things, and it reduces the number of decisions you have to make when your brain is least ready.
So instead of waking up and improvising, Lena could have a fixed start. Water, one review of priorities, then the hardest task. No drama, no negotiation with herself.
In other words, less what should I do and more I already know. That alone can save a surprising amount of mental energy.
And here's the interesting part. When the brain isn't wasting energy on low-value decisions, it can move toward a flow state.
A flow state is a focused, productive mental condition when you're fully engaged. You stop noticing the clock because your attention finally has somewhere to land.
That sounds magical, but it usually starts with something very unglamorous, fewer interruptions.
Right. Flow doesn't show up when you're checking 5 apps, answering random pings, and renegotiating your priorities every 7 minutes.
So let's test it. Imagine Lena blocks 1 hour for deep work. No messages, no meetings, no open tabs about career advice. Just one clear task.
And yes, this is the part where the brain complains. But what if something urgent happens? But what if I miss something? That's the voice of constant choice pressure.
And that's where boundaries come in. To set boundaries means to limit the amount or type of something you allow or accept.
So Lena could say, I'll reply to messages after 10 a.m. Or I'm not taking extra requests during this block. That isn't rude, it's protective.
It also helps people who feel guilty saying no. A boundary isn't a wall, it's a filter. It decides what gets in.
Honestly, some workplaces act like every message is an emergency. If everything's urgent, nothing is.
And that constant urgency creates a loop. More messages, more choices, more decision fatigue, more overwhelm, less focus. Then at night, your brain keeps replaying the day and asking, did I choose the right thing?
That loop is exhausting because it makes you feel responsible for every single outcome, even the ones you couldn't control.
So the real question isn't how do I become perfect at choosing, it's how do I reduce the number of choices that drain me before I even begin.
That's why a routine plus boundaries is so powerful. One protects your mornings, the other protects your attention.
And both make room for better work, not just more work.
Plus, once you're not mentally scattered, you can notice what actually gives you energy. Sometimes the answer isn't a bigger change. Sometimes it's a smaller, calmer day.
And by the way, there's a phrase for this whole experience. It's called decision fatigue, and we'll unpack it properly later.
We'll also show you how a routine and boundaries can get you closer to flow state without turning your life into a spreadsheet.
And after that, we'll do a tiny practice together so you can hear how these ideas sound in real English.
Because the goal isn't just understanding the words. It's recognizing your own workday inside them.
You know that feeling when you open your laptop and already feel behind? That feeling has a name. And once you name it, it stops feeling quite so mysterious.
Exactly. When you can name the problem, you can stop blaming your personality for a systems problem.
That alone can be a relief. You're not broken. You're probably just choosing too much, too often, with too little structure.
And a little structure, annoyingly, boringly, powerfully can make your brain breathe again.
So in the next part, we'll push this further with a real argument. Do boundaries help, or do they just make you less flexible?
Oh, now that sounds like a proper debate. And I've got opinions.
So, Noah, we've talked a lot about how decision fatigue drains us. I've read that setting routines and boundaries really helps reduce overwhelm and lets us reach that flow state at work.
I don't buy that as a complete solution. In many workplaces, especially fast-paced ones, sticking rigidly to routines, it's unrealistic. Things change too fast. What if your routine becomes a trap, causing you to miss opportunities or appear inflexible?
That's a valid concern. But routines aren't about being rigid slaves. It's about creating a predictable framework that limits useless choices so you reserve energy for real decisions. For example, choosing to answer emails only twice a day frees up mental space.
But what about jobs requiring constant multitasking, like project managers or customer support? Can routines really apply there? Sometimes you've got to be reactive, no matter how much you want structure.
True, some roles demand flexibility, but routines can still cover parts of your day, even if only for focus blocks. A short routine to start the morning can ground you, and setting boundaries around when and how you work prevents constant interruptions.
Speaking of boundaries, I get how they sound good theory, but saying set boundaries is easy. In reality, work culture might expect you to be always on. Your boss, clients, or meetings demand immediate responses. How are you supposed to just say no?
That always-on culture is a real challenge. But boundaries don't have to mean shutting everything down. It's about small, realistic limits. For example, turning off notifications during your flow state periods or blocking certain hours for focused work. It's a gradual change, not overnight rebellion.
Maybe, but I worry that pushing boundaries too much risks being seen as uncooperative or less committed. There's pressure to prove your dedication by always being available, especially early in your career.
I get that fear, but ironically, decision fatigue lowers your actual productivity and focus. If you're constantly overwhelmed, your quality of work drops. Setting boundaries can improve your performance, which is the best way to show commitment.
I see your point there. Still, it feels like advice for ideal situations, right? What if people don't have control over their schedules or workload? Can these methods really work for everyone?
It's true not everyone can control everything, but even tiny tweaks like organizing your desk, prioritizing top tasks, or practicing a fixed morning routine help reduce overwhelm. The goal is to create small islands of control in a chaotic day.
Okay, but what about flow state itself? Isn't it a bit of a myth? Some say it's hard to force being totally engaged, especially if you're stressed or bored by your work.
Absolutely. Flow isn't a switch you flip instantly. It depends on balance, having challenging but doable tasks, and a mindset that minimizes distractions. That's why routines and boundaries matter. They create conditions that make flow possible.
Still, if someone's job is just repetitive or uninspiring, I'm not sure flow is attainable. How do you suggest they pretend to be super focused?
It's about mindset shifts, too. Even small wins or breaks can reinvigorate focus. Plus, setting goals and recognizing progress helps maintain motivation, which nudges you closer to flow. Psychology backs this up with motivation theories like self-determination theory, which says autonomy and competence fuel engagement.
Well, when you put it that way, it's more nuanced. I can't ignore that decision fatigue is real, and some strategies like routines can reduce overwhelm, though it's a push and pull between control and flexibility.
Exactly. We don't have all the answers, but understanding these psychological limits helps us be kinder to ourselves when choices overwhelm.
So it isn't just about working harder or longer, but working smarter and sometimes accepting that you won't get every decision perfect.
Yes, and that acceptance itself eases the mental burden. You're not failing by feeling overwhelmed, you're human.
I guess the key takeaway is don't beat yourself up. Use routines and boundaries where possible, but be realistic about your context.
And remember, flow states happen when your brain isn't drained by too many choices. It's why managing decision fatigue matters.
So maybe the goal isn't to eliminate choices, but to manage them better. That's something anyone can try.
Right, and for those struggling with career confusion or burnout, these insights might be exactly what they need. So, we've traced the problem: too many choices, too much overwhelm, and a brain that gets drained before real work even starts.
And we've seen the turn, a steady routine, clearer boundaries, and spaces where flow state can actually happen, not just be wished for.
Exactly, and now we're ready to unpack the 5 phrases we kept using so you can say them naturally too. Okay, let's go back to that morning scene. You open your laptop, see 12 messages, 3 meeting invites, and 1 vague note that says, "Need your thoughts." That feeling, that drained, foggy feeling, is exactly why decision fatigue is such a useful phrase.
Right. It means the mental tiredness from making too many choices. It's not just "I'm busy." It's more like your brain has been negotiating all morning, and now even simple choices feel weirdly heavy.
Exactly, and you can hear how natural it sounds in work life. You might say, "I've got decision fatigue today," or "By afternoon, my decision fatigue is awful." Short, clear, very real.
And honestly, it explains why people can pick a lunch order faster than a career move. Your brain has a limit, and once it's used up, everything starts to feel harder than it should.
It's the first phrase doing its job. Now think about the opposite moment. You sit down, one task is in front of you, your phone is quiet, your mind stops jumping around, and suddenly you can stay with the work. That's flow state.
Yep, a flow state is a focused, productive mental condition when you're fully engaged. You're not forcing yourself every 2 seconds. The work starts to pull you in, and time gets a little slippery.
It sounds almost peaceful, right? You could say, "I got into a flow state while writing," or "I need deep work to reach a flow state." That's natural, and it carries a strong sense of concentration.
And it's not magic. Flow state usually shows up when the task is clear, the challenge feels possible, and distractions aren't poking at your attention every minute.
Which is why the next phrase matters so much in everyday office life: routine. People sometimes hear that and think boring, but here it means a regular way of doing things.
Like the small ritual before work. Coffee, inbox scan, top 3 tasks, then start. That's a routine. You might say, "My morning routine keeps me sane," or "I need a better routine for my Mondays."
And a routine isn't about turning life into a robot movie. It's about reducing the number of tiny decisions you make before you even begin. Less thinking about how to start means more energy for the actual work.
That connects directly to overwhelm, which is such a strong word. It means feeling very stressed because there's too much to do. Not just busy. More like your mind says, too much, too much, too much, too much.
Yes, and people use it all the time in real conversation. "I'm feeling overwhelmed by deadlines." "She looked overwhelmed after the meeting." It captures that sense of pressure building up until your brain wants to step away.
And the nice thing is, it's honest without sounding dramatic. If someone says they're overwhelmed, we immediately understand the load they're carrying.
Now let's bring in the last one because this phrase is so useful in work and life. Set boundaries. It means to limit the amount or type of something you allow or accept.
So if you set boundaries with email, that might mean checking it only at certain times. If you set boundaries with coworkers, it might mean not answering every message instantly.
Exactly. And you can hear it in sentences like, I need to set boundaries after 6 p.m. or she set boundaries around her focus time. It's practical, polite, and very powerful.
And let's be honest, without boundaries, your day can disappear into other people's urgency. That's how decision fatigue sneaks in wearing a fake mustache.
Okay, that image is ridiculous. But yes, boundaries help protect your routine, your flow state, and your energy.
So if you remember only one thing from today's word tour, remember this: fewer choices, clearer habits, and stronger boundaries can lower overwhelm and make space for better work.
And those 5 phrases aren't just vocabulary, they're tools for talking about real pressure in a calm, precise way. So today's big idea is simple. When your day is packed with choices, decision fatigue can quietly steal your energy, your focus, and even your confidence.
And the good news is, you don't need a huge life reset. A steady routine, a few clear boundaries, and a better path into flow state can change how your work feels.
A few practical steps can help right away. Start your morning with the same opening routine for a week. Pick your first task before you check messages.
Then block one focus window each day, even if it's only 25 minutes. No notifications, no multitasking, just one task and one direction.
And if you feel overwhelmed, don't treat that as a personal failure. Treat it like a signal. Your brain's asking for fewer choices, not more pressure.
I've done this myself. On days when I set boundaries with my inbox and stopped reopening every tiny decision, my work got calmer, faster, and honestly better.
I love that because it's not about becoming a different person. It's about giving your mind enough space to work the way it already wants to.
And let's be real. Your brain is not a machine that loves endless meetings. It needs structure, or it starts acting like a tired intern with 3 coffees and no plan.
Exactly. So try one small change this week. A morning routine, one focus block, or one boundary that protects your attention.
See which one lowers your overwhelm the most. Then keep the one that actually helps, not just the one that sounds impressive.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, which choice at work drains your energy the fastest?
We read every single comment. Thanks for listening, and if this episode helped, share it with someone who's been stuck in decision fatigue too.
Thanks for listening, and remember, calmer choices can lead to better work.
See you next time.